Welcome to This Song Is Yours, the podcast where we dive deep into the art of songwriting, chat with some of the most exciting artists in the world, and explore the stories behind their songs. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and thank you very much for joining us. Our guest this week is Cameron Picton of my new band, Believe. A founding member of Black Midi, one of the most critically adored and genuinely thrilling bands of the last decade, Cameron has stepped into a whole new chapter following the band's hiatus with a project that is already turning heads in a very big way. That project is my new band, Believe, born not from a desire to go it alone, but from an equal reluctance to simply start a new band. So it's something in between, but entirely his own. The self-titled debut record is an absolute triumph. It is a bold, beautifully realised collection of songs that weaves bombastic chamber pop with traditional folk in a way that feels at once completely unexpected, but also pretty natural at the same time. Critical acclaim has been pouring in from across the internet for this record, and it is not hard to hear why. Today we're sitting down with Cameron to talk about the making of the My New Band Believe record, the ideas behind it, the sounds and the process. We dig into the critical reception that it has been receiving and what that feels like coming off the back of Black Midi. We explore how he found his way to this new sound and what this project represents for him creatively. And then we also discuss touring the record and whether Australian fans might get the chance to see him play here. Now we want to say a massive thank you to Emma for her help with today's episode and remind everyone that the self-titled My New Band Believe record is out right now. You'll find links in the show notes where you can buy the vinyl, follow them on social media, stream their music, and keep up to date with everything that Cameron and the project have going on. While you are in the show notes, please make sure you subscribe to This Song Is Yours and come follow us over on Instagram and on TikTok. It genuinely does help us out and it keeps you across new episodes, guests, and everything else that we have in the works. Also a reminder to check out our website, thissongisyours.com, where we've got curated playlists from all your favourite artists and possibly a few more surprises in store for the month of May while we celebrate 500 episodes. Let's not keep you any further though. Let's get into it. Here is our conversation with Cameron Picton of my new band, Believe.
I'm not a spike from the sky. Precise and poison, somehow avoiding me. I'll pull you closer tonight.
Please welcome to This Song Is Yours from the band, my new band, Believe. It is Cameron Picton. Cameron, hello there, sir. How are we?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you.
Thank you very much for coming onto the podcast. I'm super excited to be chatting with you today. And I know that might sound a little bit hyperbolic almost, but there's a lot of exciting things going on around my new band, Believe, at the moment. There's an incredible self-titled record that's out. There seems to be a lot of praise coming your way. Firstly, congratulations on this debut record. How are you feeling with it out now?
Yeah, good. And now just like trying to move on to the next thing, I guess.
Totally fair. Is it something that you're able to sit with in terms of I want to almost word it as like critical acclaim? I know that there's a lot of nice things being said about the record that's out at the moment. Is this something that you're comfortable with, or something that you like to? It doesn't really play into the part of being a musician and making music, and kind of doesn't really have an effect on that day-to-day aspect of it?
Well, it's good. It means that the offers from festivals, the financial side of things starts to improve a little bit, and people actually respond to your emails. So it's good.
Always a plus when, those festival offers are coming through and that people are wanting to work alongside you and work with you. It is a gorgeous record. I'm holding a copy of it here in my hands. We were lucky enough. Actually just arrived today, which is almost perfect timing for us chatting today. And it has been getting kind of gold stars across the board. I personally really, really love this record. I think it's an incredible record. I know that other places, Pitchfork named it Best New Music. The Guardian has it, I think, 4 out of 5 or 5 stars. NME has it 5 stars. Are you surprised at the reaction the record's getting? Was there any thought that this is kind of how it would be received when you're recording it?
Well, I kind of just made it for well, everybody says this, but I made it for myself, and I was kind of like thought that probably people would say it's a bit self-indulgent, because it is. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously good. I'm glad that people, that critics have seen the good, the good in it. But that's not everything,
100%. It seems to be that there is a number of people, and I want to address it kind of early on, in that if people maybe don't recognise the band name My New Band Believe, they might recognise your name as one part of the previous band Black Midi, who had their own share of critical acclaim and love from the press and from fans alike. Has that been an interesting journey, finding yourself back here in a I guess like in a solo capacity, in terms of people having praise for the music, looking at it, and then having it kind of, has there been much of a crossover from that previous project to this brand new one?
I mean, it was just a kind of sort of slow development over a couple of years of just trying out a bunch of different things, and then taking all the things that I enjoyed and putting it into this, basically.
I did have a read somewhere that in terms of the ending of that project and the beginning of this one was something that you didn't take lightly. And as you said, that it's been a number of years in terms of bringing it to this album now and finding the best way to be able to present it and to be able to record it and everything like that. Something that I know I've spoken to a few different kind of artists about is that when you do have one project and you move on to the next, you don't necessarily want to have it, you don't want to jump out as like too immediate. And from what I read with this is that there was the forethought and quite smart thinking in terms of that you don't want to necessarily jump right into another band, because that says a certain something. You don't want it to be a solo project, because that also has different connotations with it as well. And I think that the decision that you've made with My New Band and the way that it is almost, I would say like a collective of musicians in a way, that's maybe, is that probably how you're framing it in terms of how the band operates and works?
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that I like haven't made necessarily. Kind of like everything has just been like trying an idea and then seeing how it goes, and then if the idea goes well or if you feel good about it, then like carrying on with it. Mm-hmm. There's not really necessarily been any like contrivance to do anything in particular other than just make music and see what happens.
With those first few ideas, do you remember, I guess, having them and wanting to have something that was maybe distinct, that wasn't Black Midi and there's more your own? Do you remember having those first little like bubbles of thoughts and what you kind of wanted to do with it?
Well, I was just basically writing songs for live shows that I'd booked, and I would book a show a month in advance, and then it'd be like, oh, I need 3 songs for this, so I'd write 3 songs and then perform them, and then see if they were good or not by performing them, or if I liked them or not, or if what they needed any changes or anything like that, and then I'd carry on performing them if I thought they were good. So it was kind of like, that's kind of like, I guess, a microcosm of how the band operates, where it's just like trying something out and then if it's good, then carrying on with it.
100%. The first few shows that I read that you were doing were in support of or alongside the incredible Black Country New Road and some of the work that they were doing and their new sound as well. Did you find that not necessarily just Black Country New Road, but those live shows as well played into the influence of the record and maybe how some of these sounds have come out? Because there is, I'd say, maybe some sonic crossover between the two, between My New Band and Black Country New Road. Yeah,
I mean, I think that the record is quite different from them, but that tour that I did with them in 2024 was useful because it forced me to kind of like properly finish a lot of the half songs that I had, and and also like write new songs and fill in gaps a bit more for like a properly considered set rather than something informal at like a kind of small venue in London.
I think that's totally fair. I think that having that that drive or that push is something that can help songwriters in terms of finding a catalyst for a project, I guess, and driving that further, was the fully formed idea for my new band to have mainly non-electric instruments, like to have more organic, acoustic, unplugged instruments play across, and whether that be woodwind, whether it be strings, the guitars, things like that. Was that something that was evident from those earlier songs and when you worked up to that bigger project?
Yeah, it was just mostly like to foreground the acoustic guitar as an instrument, basically. So the strings and all that stuff is fun and fine, and piano and all that kind of thing. But the main sort of thing is that you can always reduce the songs to acoustic guitar and voice.
Is that what you began songwriting on? I'm not sure if we've made it evident by now, but we are primarily a songwriting podcast, and so we usually do to talk about songwriting, the origins of one person and where they've kind of began that from. Were you originally a guitar player when you started writing your own music and your own songs?
Yeah, all these songs were written on guitar. And a lot of the like parts and the arrangements are kind of like from the guitar part that originally accompanied the song.
The songs themselves are incredibly built. Having a look at some of the liner notes and how they've been built as well. Obviously, you yourself are all across these songs and have written these songs. There are members of Caroline that have helped play on some of these songs. I believe there's a member of Shame that has contributed across the album as well. When it comes to finding the right collaborators and team members almost to be able to bring this vision to life, what is the process that you usually go through to find who's going to be right to play with and who's going to be able to bring these songs, I guess, the vision that you have to the best of the ability of making it real?
Well, I think that everybody came into the record apart from the band Caroline, because I originally started working with them in their band capacity. Everybody came into it, I guess, as an individual, kind of, sort of similar to me, or as like separate from their other project or whatever. But a lot of the time it was just like, oh, I know this person, or I want to play with this person, and I need to record some piano, and then I have a free studio available like next week or something. So it's just whoever's around should come, and then just seeing what happens then.
I think that there's the ability to have a really fluid sounding record in a way when you've got that level of freedom to be able to do it, in terms of that if there's no strict constructs of how you want to build the songs, and that you're open to having different collaborators come in and play different things and try different things, then it also it's usually kind of audible in the music as at the end product, if you will.
And if you sort of spend a long time working with someone, like a whole day, and you just do you focus in on a couple of tracks, then there's so much material, and there's going to be some good stuff even if you just use one chord.
Well, exactly. I think that there are some really special moments across this record, and there's lots of it's almost like this beautiful mix of traditional folk music, and then there's very grandiose moments that kind of blow out into these really beautiful sonic soundscapes. Not to be too cliche, in the language that we're using, but I am definitely like a headphone record in terms of being able to hear the little beautiful intricacies on it, but then also hearing the different aspects of the way that you've used the space in which it's been recorded, and that you've built these songs as well. I was wondering whether you might indulge us a little bit. There is a track that is a bit of a fan favourite. I know lots of people are really loving Love Story. For those who are listening who are not across Cameron and his music, this is not a Taylor Swift cover. This is a completely different original song from yourself. And I think that people seem to be connecting with it because there is a beautiful sincerity and simplicity to this song, almost just in terms of the lyrical content. Wondering whether you might be able to share where it came from or what kind of inspired it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like just quite, the lyrics are quite, the title is quite literal in terms of the lyric, like how they relate to the lyrics. And I think a lot of the songs on the album, the title is the key to, I guess, like getting a feel for the lyrics of the song. And yeah, I mean, I just quite kind of like wanted to do something that was quite referential of a lot of other love songs, but also try and do something slightly different to what was kind of in the love song landscape at the time.
I think that's completely fair. When it does come to lyric writing, are you someone who has bouts of just, one or two lines at a time that you'll then piece together from a notebook a little bit later? Or are you someone who maybe has songs, we've spoken to a few people where songs almost come as like a vessel, like the song will come half written where you've got a good chunk of it in one sitting. What kind of lyricist are you when it does come to writing lyrics and making up lyrics?
Well, I think that the best thing to do usually is just to try and get it all out at once. So the guitar, the melody, the lyrics, get it all out at once. And the lyric usually comes from, I guess, one key phrase where you sort of like you can, like, I don't know, get into the thrust of what you want to do with the song. And then it's usually quite easy to finish it with that in mind. And yeah, I mean, sometimes obviously you need a bit of help and you need to find some kind of like key phrase from somewhere else, or like if you need, I don't know, like the second line of the second verse, like you can kind of go through sort of your notebook or whatever and see if there are any lines that are appropriate. But most of the time I find that the best thing to do is just to write it all at once.
Do you have lyrical heroes of yours? Do you have people that you look to for, I guess, inspiration, or the way that they've previously built or phrased or the perspective of a song? Are there songwriting heroes of yours that you kind of look to?
Yeah, I mean, I guess like Joni Mitchell, Judy Seal, that kind of thing. But it's like funny, but there's always like a serious line as well.
I think that, some of those classic songwriters have the ability to balance levity, humour, and the probably more serious, darker subject matter when it comes to things like that. For yourself, having a look at the fact that obviously this project is yourself, it was Caroline and some of those other musicians that we spoke of, in terms of future records. At the top you mentioned, moving forward and working out what is then going to come next for my new band Believe. Is there collaborators that you're hoping to bring into this project? It is quite a broad and expansive project. Is there anyone that you're looking to possibly bring into this world for that, I guess, that next outing, whenever it might occur?
Not necessarily. I just need the time in the studio to record more music, basically, and then we'll see what happens.
That is very, very fair. I am aware that you are currently on the road at the moment and for quite a bit of the year, which is keeping you busy. Are you someone who has the ability to write and songwrite while on the road, or is it something that you find that is not the most conducive environment to be able to build a song?
I think that you can write bits, but yeah, you can't do sort of like focused writing necessarily unless you're by yourself. But it's definitely possible to develop ideas on tour. So it's got its own function.
100%. Do you remember the first time you tried to songwrite, not for this project, but possibly as a teenager, possibly in high school? Do you remember that first time of trying to put pen to paper and write a song?
Well, not particularly, but I was always coming up with like stupid little songs as a kid, and I guess kind of like stupid little songs as a teenager, and now stupid little songs as an adult. So it's just a kind of developing practice over the years.
That is totally fair. At least the nice thing now, as you said, these, I wouldn't call them stupid, using your own words, but these songs now that you may classify Stupid as you said, the festivals are calling, the critics seem to be enjoying them. So there does seem to be some power to them even now. So that's very exciting. As mentioned, you are on tour from, I think now up until September, having a quick look. There are dates across the UK, in Europe, in the US, where there does seem to be a lot of excitement around the band and the project. How are you finding these songs are translating live? And is there currently like a favourite off the album that you love playing that you found is really connecting with fans, or at least is entertaining you to be able to play?
Well, we've only done actually one show as a band, as part of since the album's come out, and then the proper tour starts next week on Tuesday. But it's going to be electric, so it should feel different, and it should be a bit more kind of like rock. So yeah, we'll see.
It is very exciting for those people who are listening to this podcast. If you do go to the band's website, it does have all the details for all of those dates from May throughout September. We'll make sure that they're in the show notes. But right down the bottom, in big bold letters, there is more to be announced, and it might be a bit of an obvious question speaking to an Australian outlet, but can we maybe expect, maybe post-September, maybe next year, to see yourself and my new band down here in Australia?
Yeah, I'd like to. It's obviously far, so we'll see. But yeah, I'd obviously like to. I mean, I'd like to go basically anywhere. But there's only so much of the year. There's only 365 days in the year, so we'll just have to see.
I think that's totally fair. We will keep our eyes peeled for that, and for any dates that might be announced, we'll make sure that we share them across all of our socials. Cameron, we usually ask our guests, wrapping things up, what they're currently listening to. For yourself, is there anything that is on high rotation, any music that you're kind of currently loving that you'd love to spotlight?
What was I listening to recently? I listening to this Tara Cunningham album called Almost Dash Not Exactly. That's really good.
Oh, what kind of? I'm not across that album. What kind of music would you kind of classify it as?
She's a guitarist, but it's like an electronic record.
Oh, cool. Okay. That sounds quite interesting.
Yeah, it's great.
Perfect. Well, we'll definitely have to give it a listen. Following your recommendation, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming onto the podcast today, Cameron. The brand new record from my new band, Believe, is out right now. It is by that name as well. It is self-titled. But Cameron Picton, thank you very much for coming onto the podcast to chat all about it with us.
Thank you. Yeah, cheers.